John, always enjoy catching up with you for an Iffy story, thanks to Bicycle Beer. The Jayco Herald Sun Tour, as it's known these days, has a rich part in our cycling calendar. It was called the Sun Tour when you rode it and when you won it as well, but no doubt plenty of Iffy stories there.
Yeah, the Fun Tour too, I guess. And look, I grew up with it. As a youngster, the first Sun Tour was in '52, I think. I was 3 years of age. But my first memories are probably 5 or 6 years of age with Sun Tour riders staying at our house, because my dad used to race. My dad had been a pro cyclist.
So you had them billeted at your house?
Yeah, and just listening to those stories of Big Eye. So as a kid, all I ever wanted to do was ride the Sun Tour. So to have been able to do that and win it, and now be the race director of the Jayco Herald Sun Tour is really something special. But it was a different world. I mean, very small fields, only teams was 3, and only used to be like a dozen teams. So there's only 30 bike riders.
So when it went through town, it whistled through?
It was, yeah, and we went right round the state. It was 9 days, big days, 2 stages every day, sometimes 3 with an evening stage. You know, we'd start at 8:30 in the morning, finish at 5 o'clock at night, and sometimes have an evening stage around a trotting track or something. We would be billeted at people's homes. So none of these flash hotels they get nowadays. But which was great. I've still got friends that I met but from back in those days.
Were there any homes you weren't allowed back in though?
No, there are some riders maybe, but no, I was the perfect gentleman.
Of course you were. No farmers' daughters jokes in there.
And look, and everyone would go to the pub, so it was a real family. You know, all the riders, all the officials, after there'd be a mayoral reception or something, and everyone would go to the pub. The people you're staying with would come and have a couple of beers with you as well. I remember one night in Bright that I went back because there was a bit of a party going on. Teddy Whitten was down, and I was sponsored by Adidas, and Teddy was the boss of Adidas, the marketing boss, and so we had a party. So I ended up in the room with a few of the boys, and we kicked on, and I was the only bike rider left, so I think I had the yellow jersey at that stage. And the next morning, I staggered out of the hotel. It's daylight. I still haven't got back to where I'm staying, and I was sharing with Peter Provis. We were in a flat.
I wanted to ask you what kept you out
the back of the house in Bright. So I got, one of the officials drove past, gave me a lift back up to this house, and I duck in. Peter Provis is already in having breakfast, so he's sitting there with the tracksuit on. I've still got the good mocker on from the night before, so a bit of water on the face, walk in, and I remember the lady going, "John, aren't you racing today?" I said, "Oh yes, Mrs. Smith, but I always get dressed for breakfast." What a lovely boy, she said. Remember Peter Provis choking on his cornflakes.
If only she knew.
But, it was still serious. I mean, we all had a lot of fun, but the racing was all on. It was our biggest race, the most media coverage. I won 3 Sun Tours, 3 front page stories. So it got you more coverage than anything else you could do. And it was a wonderful event, and it still is an amazing event. But we've got a lot of big events now, Tour Down or whatever. But the Herald Sun Tour, which is Australia's oldest cycling tour, was a special event. But another little story, dumps. The dumps we talked about, David Allen, my rivalry, my arch enemy. I remember it was 76 Sun Tour. So I'd won it in 75, 76. The real rivalry started with Dumps and I. And for some reason, we were at the back of the bunch arguing over something. We let it go. Next minute, we're off the bikes, having a punch up. So here we are. Not a lot, actually, with the cleats and everything, there was some more slipping over than punching. But
it's comedy capers.
Yeah, we were comedy capers. And then officials, Tassie Johnson jumping off, my father pulling up, people trying to pull us apart. So we finally got back in our bikes, started riding. So that finished in Warragul, sort of almost home area. I lost 8 minutes on the first stage, so that was sort of the end of the tour. And Dumps didn't pull out of that race, but his cousin, Peter Pasago, won the tour. But I lost it by, I think I went 4th or 5th, I can't remember, but I was only less than 2 minutes down. And I won the sprint ace, the King of the Mountains, and we won the team's race. And I think I won 8 stages, but I didn't win the bike race.
Iffy, if only.
Another Iffy story, yeah.